is the 7th anniversary of my fan-made crossover series, Movies United. 7 years and I'm nowhere near finished the show because, well, I keep procrastinating and I keep insisting on remaking the old episodes with the exact same quality I put into newer episodes. Not to mention I keep getting distracted by all these holiday specials, which take just as much time. But we're not here to talk about my busy work schedule. We're here to look at all the major characters and give them Pokémon types. Ever since I got back into Pokemon, this is something I've been wanting to do for a very long time, for no other reason other than it sounds like fun. I don't think I have to explain how this is going to work, but the way it works, if I was to give Kevin a Pokemon type, I would look at him and say he's a bearded dragon, so dragon type, but bearded dragons also like to dig, so ground type. Therefore, Kevin would be a dragon and ground type. We're gonna start with the king of this world I created, Sora from Kingdom Hearts. If the light type existed in Pokemon, then that would be Sora's type, but since it doesn't, it would be optimal to give him the fairy type. But honestly, I think Sora would be more fitting of a normal type legendary. In this series I've created, Sora has traveled to many worlds, even beyond the ones that we see him travel to in the game. So like Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon, Thomas and Friends. So he ends up learning a lot of special moves that aids him in combat, which is why a normal type that has access to a lot of different moves of different types would just fit Sora very well. Now we move on to the main cast of Chapter 1, starting with the main character, Hiro Hamada from Big Hero 6. I could give him the normal psychic combo, but there's gonna be a lot of psychic, normal, and fairy types in this video. So I'm going to make him a psychic steel type, as he does work with a lot of robots. And the next character on the list, Conan from Detective Conan, or Case Closed, is far more fitting for the normal psychic combo. He's just a regular human being, but has the mind of a supercomputer. While not as smart as Detective Conan, Dipper Pines from Gravity Falls is also fitting of the normal psychic, as he has pretty much the same thing. He is a normal kid, but he's also very smart. While his twin sister Mabel Pines is more fitting of the normal fairy type. You see what I mean? We've only covered just a few characters, and each one of them have had normal, psychic, or fairy as their typing. Even Waddles would just be a normal type in this scenario. Thankfully, Robin from the Teen Titans is here to break that trend, as he has the fighting type. So yeah, these guys are basically the main characters of the first 13 episodes of Movies United. And then after that we move into Chapter 2, where the cast changes because the villains come and kidnap a lot of heroes, and now we have Hiro and a new group of characters just traveling to go save them. And thankfully we're gonna have a lot more type variety, starting with Vanellope from Wreck-It Ralph, who is an electric type. Glitching around like that just reminds me of electricity, and I didn't want to give her the normal type like Porygon because we have a lot of normal types upcoming. Elsa is obviously an ice type, but I'm also going to make her an ice fairy, because she is a Disney princess, and since this takes place in the Kingdom Hearts universe, all the princesses of light would be fairy types. And even though Elsa is not a princess of light, not in this reality I've created anyway, she still gets the fairy type because it just makes sense. Jack Frost from Rise of the Guardians is an ice ghost type because he is a spirit. He died and revived as like a ghostly character, even though he's not really a ghost, but it still matches. I like the typing. Our third ice type, Gray Fullbuster from Fairy Tail. I'm just going to make him a pure ice type, but you could argue the case that he is an ice fighting type. But then again, any anime character could slap on the fighting type. Like Gone Freaks from Hunter x Hunter, who is a pure fighting type. Urza Scarlet, also from Fairy Tail, would be a steel normal type. Since she has so many different armors, when she re-equips to specific armors, the normal type is replaced by a different type depending on whichever armor she's using. The Flame Empress armor would activate the fire type, Japanese Cloth gains the fighting type, and the Heaven's Wheel armor will make Urza a pure steel type. Onto our third Fairy Tail character, Natsu Dragneel, and you know guys, I'm really having trouble figuring out what typing Natsu Dragneel, the Fire Dragon, should have. Should he be a poison type? Maybe he should be a ghost type, you know? I'm honestly stumped. I have no idea what Pokemon types fit Natsu the best. My favorite character from my favorite movie of all time, Nazca of the Valley of the Wind. I was tempted to give her the bug type because she is highly associated with bugs, and I don't think we have many characters who use the bug type on this list. But she herself is not a bug, and she's more fitting of the flying fairy combo. Flying first, because Nausicaä, and honestly everyone in this movie, is heavily associated with flight. And fairy type being her secondary type because that is Pokemon stand-in for the light and holy type. And Nausicaä is a very pure soul. Speaking of made-up types, Corey Riffin from GarageBand would have been perfect for the sound type as he is a guitarist. But that's not a thing in Pokemon, so I'm gonna take a little bit of literal wordplay into this. Corey is a rock star, so I'm gonna give him the rock type because I don't want to make him a normal type. Speaking of normal types, Jeff from Total Drama is a normal guy who loves to surf, so normal water. Okay, moving on to Thomas from Thomas and Friends. You could argue that he's fit for a lot of different types, like he runs on water and fire and coal, which is a rock, and he's made of steel. But since he's mainly a giant steam kettle, I'm gonna opt for making him a steel fire type. Expanding upon this, Diesel, being a diesel, would be a steel poison type. And Roger, which is my fan-made character in Movies United, who is an electric train, would be an electric steel type. And the funny thing is, all 3 of these trains are 4 times weak to ground. I'm sure there are hundreds of videos who have given Sonic the Hedgehog a Pokemon form or like a Pokemon type, and I'm pretty sure the most accepted one is electric. Tails would be a flying type. Knuckles, who has not appeared in an episode of Movies United, but I do plan to add him when I eventually remake past episodes, would just be a fighting type. Actually, no, he'd be a fighting ground type because echidnas do a lot of digging. Yandere-chan from Yandere Simulator would be a dark type. And Mary's, who is from the original Big Hero 6 comics, would be Steel Psychic, as she is basically meant to be exactly the same as Hero. Oh, but we're not done with Chapter 2 yet, we gotta cover some villains! Ghost Rider would be a Fire Ghost type. Robbie Rotten from Lazy Town would be a normal type. The Eye of Sauron! Dark Fire. Starscream and Skywarp would both be Steel Flying types. Bone Crusher would be a steel fighting, Mudslinger would be just a regular steel type, Rampage would be a steel ground type because bulldozer. Payload would also be pure steel. And the FNAF animatronics would all be ghost steel types, or steel ghost types. And those are all the important characters of Chapter 2. And now we're moving on to Chapter 3, which is the chapter that's taking the most time as it is just the biggest chapter and just has a lot of storylines to keep track of. Starting with all of the main characters who were trapped in the Joker games. Emmett Brakowski is the textbook definition of a normal type. Vitruvius would be psychic, Wildstyle would be fighting. How to Train Your Dragon characters, Hiccup would gain the psychic type. Toothless is a flying dragon. You could also opt for a flying electric or flying dark, or like there are a bunch of types Toothless could be, but he is mostly known for his flying skills, so he would be a flying dragon. Rapunzel from Tangled, fairy type. Aladdin from Aladdin, ground fighting because he lives in Arabia, which is full of sand. Ash Ketchum from wait a minute. Pingu is an ice type. Genie is a fairy type. Sir Topham Hatt from Thomas and Friends is a normal type. We got 3 characters from Full Metal Alchemist, and I gotta be honest, it's pretty tricky. Aside from Alphonse, who is obviously just a steel type, Edward Elric, since he does a lot of transmutation, can be a psychic rock type, and Winry works around metal a lot, so normal steel again. The boys from Over the Garden Wall can be normal types. Patrick Starr is a water type. Jake the dog... wait. I have no idea what type to give this guy. I could give him the normal type, but he is anything but normal. You know what? Genius idea. Since Jake can shapeshift, I'm gonna have him shapeshift into a bug so he can be a bug type. Aha! I did get one in here. And since I mentioned Jake, I know people are gonna ask where's Finn. Well, he's captured at this point, so he's not one of the main characters, but I'm gonna give him a typing anyway. He'd be a fighting type. We have the Wild Kratts, and I'm actually gonna give them the electric type because they use their creature power suits to turn into different animals, and I imagine there's a lot of techie stuff involved there. I would make Chris an electric grass type because he likes to climb, and Martin an electric water type because he likes to swim. Littlefoot is a mono dragon type. because I literally cannot give him any other typing. I do not want another normal type. But speaking of overused types, I have to give Pinkie Pie the fairy type, because look at her. She just fits the type so well. We're not done with horses yet, as we have another My Little Pony character, Twilight Sparkle. This one can be, she also fits many types, but I think that she fits Psychic Fairy the most, because she's very smart, very knowledgeable in magic, and again, princess equals fairy. That's my logic here. Kilowazoldiac, Gon's best friend from Hunter x Hunter, is an electric dark type, because the dark type comes from the fact that he is an ex-assassin. Okay, that was a lot of characters, but we're not even done with Chapter 3 yet, because I added another plot line with Star Butterfly from Star vs. the Forces of Evil going on her own kind of adventures, with Riley Anderson from Inside Out. Back to types that show up a lot. Star would be a fairy type, and Riley would be a normal type. Actually, I should give types of her emotions as well. Joy would be fairy, sadness would be water, anger would be fire, disgust would be grass since her design is sorta based off of broccoli, and fear would be a ghost type because I find that ironically funny. Broadside is a triple changer, so he could start out as just a regular steel type, but then when he transforms into a jet, he can become a steel flying, and turns into a boat becoming steel water. Anyway, it should be a lot easier for me to remember all the characters from Star's adventures as she goes to each world by world, Kingdom Hearts style. Starting with Ninjago. This should be fun. Okay, Kai is a fire type, Jay is an electric type, Cole is a rock ground type, I can't choose between one or the other, I am an ice type, Nia is a water type, Lloyd is... Dang it, I'm stumped again. I guess I could give Lloyd and Sensei Wu the Terra type, but the Terra type is kind of just like a limited type, so it's best to just give them the normal type. Cuphead and Mugman could also be normal types, but they do not look like normal types, so I'm just gonna give them the water type because they hold liquids in their heads. I guess fighting could also work, but water fighting, maybe, I don't know. Miraculous Ladybug! Just a little side note, I revisited the show after taking a break. The last complete episode I watched was Chat Blanc. And then when I just clicked on a random episode, like, I don't know, 2 years later, I just saw, like, now there's so much has changed, and I'm like, okay, maybe I have to rewatch the show and just see what's happened. Ladybug would be a fairy type, and Cat Noir would be a dark type. And of course, when they're just Marinette and Adrian, they would be normal types. Ruby Rose from Ruby. Hey, how is Ruby doing anyway? I haven't actually... Last I remember, they all got haircuts. Rose is literally in her name, so I'm gonna say grass fighting. Grass steel? No, grass fighting. I'm gonna go with grass fighting. The Little Prince, based off of the TV show that nobody's heard about, not the movie that everyone's heard about, would have to be another fairy type, as he is another pure soul. Hat Kid shows up, so I could argue that she gains the fairy type because they honestly, Pokemon just looks at the fairy type and says, oh, this is also to describe cute Pokemon. Although I could also opt for giving Hat Kid the dark fairy typing because she is pretty dastardly at times. 2 more Kingdom Hearts characters, we have Roxas and Xion. So yeah, since Roxas and Xion are created from Sora, they're gonna be fairy ghost types. And just to further lay out my thought process of the theming of Organization 13's typings, you got like your grass ghost, your electric ghost, fire ghost, water ghost, so on and so forth. Speaking of nobodies, Michael Afton from the FNAF universe is also a nobody. This is connecting to the part that, again, this is a universe based off of Kingdom Hearts, so a lot of the FNAF lore is connected to this Kingdom Hearts lore stuff, like, I don't know, I think my logic was the children become heartless and stuffed into the bot, or like nobody, I have to, it would take some time to organize my thoughts on this new lore I've created for FNAF, or just like connecting the Kingdom Hearts lore with the FNAF lore. Either way, we're sticking with the nobodies are ghost types, therefore Michael Afton is a dark ghost type. We move on to my favorite indie horror game, Little Nightmares, where we meet Six, who is a dark type. We also have Runaway Kid, he'd be a normal type. Next we got 2 Undertale characters, the Skeleton Brothers. Although, I guess I could give them both the ghost type because skeletons, afterlife. But Sans is extra merciless, so we could give him the dark ghost type. How many characters have the ghost type in this video? And I believe those are all of the protagonists, so let's cover some antagonists. Not all of them, because there's a lot of antagonists this time around. I'm just gonna go over the most relevant ones. And let's be honest, most of them would be dark type anyway. Like the Joker, he's a dark type. Voldemort would be dark psychic. Loki would be a ghost type because illusions. In this story, Blue and her sisters are being mind controlled. Therefore, they're labeled as villains. I guess I could give them all the dragon type. Although I guess electric as well because speed, like electric dragon. But I could also opt for normal dragons because but I'm just gonna stick with dragon. Rexy would be a dragon, the Indominus Rex would also be a dragon. I guess Dark Dragon could work. Orochimaru can be a dark poison type. Have I made I guess I haven't really used poison type all that much. And Orochimaru does he's a snake, so it makes sense. Bill is a dark type 100%. Megatron is steel fighting. Maleficent is dark psychic. The Devil's a dark fire type. King Dice can just be a mono dark type. Garmadon's a dark type. Hawkmoth is a dark type. Ghidorah is an electric dragon. I haven't added Bowser yet, but his son Bowser Jr. is here, and since a lot of people say Bowser is a fire dragon, Bowser Jr. would also be a fire dragon. Right? We have more FNAF animatronics, which would be ghost and steel types, but Springtrap specifically could be, he's not really a ghost. He's still technically alive in there, so I would say dark steel. The lady from Little Nightmares is also a dark ghost type. Flowey is a grass type, a grass dark type. Eclipsa isn't really a villain, but she's often labeled as a villain in the show, despite the fact that she's really a good person. So, Dark Fairy, that makes sense. And then we have Invader Zim, bug type. Yes, I did get another one in here. Oh yeah, and Gur, steel type. I also realized that some of these characters are listed despite the fact they haven't appeared in the show yet. That's because I uploaded those on the old channel, but I've yet to re-upload them because I'm focusing on remakes before uploading certain episodes. In fact, I even have a lot of Bendy and the Ink Machine episodes that haven't been re-uploaded because I'm still focusing on the remix. So, you know what? I'm gonna cover not just those characters, but a few characters that I plan to add in future episodes that I haven't even started to make yet. The Ink Demon is a dark poison type. Akko from Little Witch Academia is a fairy normal type. Jim Lake from Troll Hunters is unfortunately stuck with the steel rock typing. Princess Mononoke is a grass fighting type. Kiki is just a flying type. I guess you could say normal flying, but again, I want to use normal as least as possible since I've used it so much at this point. Especially now, we have Pazu and Cheetah from Laputa. Cheetah being a normal fairy and Pazu being a normal flying. And we're gonna finish it off with Smaug as the fire dragon. Except we're not really done yet because we also have characters who are exclusive to the holiday specials, which have no connection to the main story whatsoever. Starting with my favorite character, Hilda. She is a normal fairy. If you've watched the entirety of Hilda, you will understand why. The Ghost and Molly McGee, Molly's a normal type, Scratch is a ghost type, together they're a normal ghost type. Unlike Spooky, who is a pure ghost type. I guess she could also be Ghost Dark, but I'm gonna stick with Ghost. Amphibia characters, the Planters, all frogs, water type. Anne is also a water type, but I'm gonna call her a water fairy. Iger is gonna be steel fighting because he has a Beyblade. Glitchtex 5 can be an electric type because techie stuff. Big Jack Horner is so evil, and dark type in Japanese is called the evil type, so yeah. 3 more Ghost and Molly McGee characters. Ollie and Libby strike me as normal types, but I'm gonna say that Andrea is a fairy type because those colors just match. The Collector from the Owl House. Even though he's not evil, I'm going to give him the dark psychic combo. I guess you could argue that he is just a psychic type, but I don't know, it just feels like because if you manipulate him, then he can do some pretty terrible things. As of right now, Derpy Hooves has only made a cameo in one video, and it's not even Movies United, it's Rampant Repaints. But she's part of my animated collection, so I'm gonna just label her as a normal flying type. Hilda's mom is also a normal fairy. Frida can be normal psychic. David is just normal. And then Kaiser can be a psychic type. And to finish off the list, we have Maka Alborn as a fighting type with her partner Soul Eater as a dark steel type. The logic being that he can transform into a scythe, which is used as a weapon to kill enemies. Sam I Am and Guy Am I from Green Eggs and Ham, both normal types. And the Dinosaur King crew carry over their types from the dinosaurs they use. Max being an electric, Zoe being a grass, and Rex being flying? Question mark? Hey guys, look, I can fly now! And there it is. I assume all of the characters, as in all of the main characters that play significant roles, and a few that don't play significant roles at all. And it only took 30 minutes. Well, that's what the official recording time says. I probably trimmed it down to a lot shorter, but I could have sworn this video was going to be a lot longer, but I'm glad it's not. So, yeah, that is the 7th anniversary of Movies United. Now I have to get started on the Mother's Day video. Then after that, I have to get started on the next Trampy video. And then after that, I have to get started on another episode of Movies United, so I can't just say I did 1 episode a year. Man, I am keeping my...
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video from beginning to end. If you want to see more, subscribe to the channel and join the Zainreborn community. See you in the next one. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.